This is my audience. Have you ever heard of the city of Pompeii? I find it really interesting that a lot of people actually haven't heard of the city of Pompeii before. So if you don't know much about Pompeii, you might learn a little bit more today. Pompeii was founded in 600 BC and is located at the southern part of Italy. I've found Pompeii really interesting for quite a while now. I've watched a lot of documentaries and done a lot of research over Pompeii. Pompeii is one of the most visited archaeological sites in the world. Due to its excellent state of preservation, it has given an invaluable insight into the Roman world and may claim to be one of the richest archaeological sites in the world, according to the Ancient History Encyclopedia. Pompeii has an interesting history, and today we will discuss Pompeii before, during, and after the explosion of Mount Vesuvius. To start, let's talk about the city before the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Before the eruption, Pompeii was a well-known trading center. According to Western Australian Museum, shops of all kinds lined the bustling streets of Pompeii. The shopping in Pompeii was world-class for its time. Pompeii was the trading power of the Mediterranean, and some of its most popular trade items include wine, bread, and produce, especially onions. Pompeii was well known for its gladiators fighting to the death. The contests Pompeians enjoyed were ultra-violent even for today, according to the Western Australian Museum. Theatrical performances were also performed in the amphitheater for a more or less violent audience. According to the Western Australian Museum, comedies and rustic farces were performed there, as well as mimed and reenactments of mythological scenes. Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 CE and changed the lives and environment of Pompeii forever. According to the Ancient History Encyclopedia, on the morning of the 24th of August, 79 CE, a tremendous bang signaled that the magma that had been building over 1,000 years had finally burst through the crater of Vesuvius. Most people did not leave Pompeii. They believed that maybe it wasn't going to be that bad, or they weren't sure what to expect, and some people even stayed behind so that their belongings weren't stolen. Then in the late afternoon, another massive explosion rang in the air, sending a column 6 miles higher than the previous. When the ash fell, it was much heavier stones than in the first eruption, and the volcanic material that smothered the town was now meters thick, according to the Ancient History Encyclopedia. The ash was so thick and hot that it killed everyone that stayed at Pompeii. According to Live Science, most victims died instantly, and the superheated air burned their lungs and contracted their muscles, leaving their bodies in a semi-curled position to quickly be buried in ash and thus preserved in detail for thousands of years. It's quite interesting to look at the pictures of the people who were left at Pompeii. Their bodies are in the same positions of their last moments. Mount Vesuvius destroyed everything and took many lives, but archaeologists find this to be an archaeological gold mine. Currently, the major concern at Pompeii is conservation. Officials must deal with the intersection of increased tourism and the deterioration of buildings to a sometimes dangerous state, and the shrinking archaeological and art monuments, according to Khan Academy. Although Pompeii can be visited for tourism purposes, many archaeologists are concerned with the constant foot traffic that Pompeii is bringing. Recently, archaeologists discovered a horse that was buried beneath the ash, and it still had its harness and saddle on. The BBC reports that archaeologists unearthed the horse remains with the 2 others, including the bits and pieces of the harness and the saddle. There are still many things that have not yet been discovered. Pompeii might not be one of the happier or beautiful places on the earth, but it does hold a lot of history and fascinating finds. Pompeii might be one of the more forgotten destinations, so I hope I enlightened you on before, during, and after the Mount Vesuvius eruption. So next time you think of Pompeii, the first thing that pops into your mind hopefully won't be, where's that? Thank you for your time, and are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
How many people died after the eruption of Vesuvius?
How many people died? because of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. So they aren't exactly sure how many people, but it's approximately stated that it was about 2,000.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Okay, so like after the initial eruption that destroyed the city, were there any eruptions after that?
Were there any eruptions after that initial one? There hasn't been any after that, but they have had 8 total from Mount Vesuvius. But it's been quite a while since the last one, so it's due for an eruption anytime. Are there any more?
Yes. Have you ever visited Pompeii?
Have I ever visited Pompeii? No, I haven't visited Pompeii, but I would love to one day. It's a really interesting city, and it's one of my top places I want to visit. Any more? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.